Good evening. I'd like to call the April 1st, 2019 Davie County Commissioners meeting to order. This time I'll ask Commissioner Jones to lead us in the invocation.
Father, we just come here tonight in awe of your mercy and your grace. We thank you for placing us in this great free land. We thank you for men and women who have fought on battlefields that we might be free. We thank you for our public safety folks here in Davie County, our fire, our law enforcement, our EMS, that, Father, keep our streets safe and our homes safe, that and make this such a great community to raise a family. Father, we thank you for our teachers. We thank you for those that commit to our children each and every day. We thank you for the great staff that you've placed here in our government in Davie County. Father, you have been exceedingly good to us. And we come here tonight, even in the business of this great county, to offer you honor and praise that you deserve. And we'll pray this prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
Stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Appreciate everyone coming out tonight. For all you that are astute in the audience, which all of you are, normally there's 5 of us. There's 4 of us, as you will see. You can see Mr. Poindexter is traveling and wishes he could be here. So, or maybe not, I don't know. This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved. Do you have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. That passes 4-0. All right, next we move to the public comment period. Mr. Vogler.
Mr. Chairman, no one signed up for public comment tonight.
All right. Okay, next we have 2 proclamations, and first one is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the second Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I'll call on Mr. Eller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll read these 2 proclamations tonight and make sure we get both to our Health and Human Services staff. 2 obviously critical observances that we want to be aware of for the month of April. The first is our Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I'll read that first until we get to the next here. That proclamation reads, "Whereas children are vital to our state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being our most vulnerable assets. Whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life of a community. And whereas communities that provide parents with the social supports, knowledge of parenting, and child development with concrete resources they need to cope with stress and nurture their children to ensure all children grow to their full potential. Whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human services agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and our business community. And therefore, we proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon our citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live. Signed by our chairman and supported by the board on this day. For those of you who were able to attend in downtown Moxville at the Little Park, today we were able to kind of kick off the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we'll be canvassing the community and supporting our nonprofit partners and our health and human services staff and all the communities as well, and our responders who work with our agencies every day to protect children. So we thank all of them who are here for the strong work that they do each and every day, and we also seek your support of this proclamation. Read the other proclamation that we have before you today is because it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and our Davie folks here work very hard with our Davie Center for Violence Prevention, formerly our DVRC agency, to really promote this issue that's important to us all, that really coincides with the other proclamation you just heard. So I'll read that. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, and whereas we call upon community members to help take action and raise awareness of sexual assault prevention efforts and ensure the next generation fosters attitudes that promote healthy relationships, equality, and respect, and whereas the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month's campaign is Engaging New Voices, and whereas Davie County offers its support to the Davie Center for Violence Prevention for their efforts each day to serve those in need who have experienced domestic violence and or rape. And now, therefore, it be resolved that the Davie County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of all residents of Davie County, does hereby proclaim April 2019 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, signed by our chairman and supported by the board. So, again, thank you to all the agencies who serve both of these very important issues in Davie County, and we appreciate the board's support through these proclamations tonight.
Thank you. Two very worthy proclamations and things we need to support. I would entertain a motion to approve both of those proclamations.
I make that motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, raise your hand. Both proclamations are passed. Thank you. Right, next we move to a public hearing. The public hearing is the Bermuda Village Public Finance Authority revenue bonds, and I'm going to call on Mr. Eller for some context.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start off and defer to Mr. Vogler too, because I know he also participated in communicating with the folks that you'll hear from tonight. This issue is brought before us. I know there's been a lot of conversation about the development over in the Bermuda Run area. Many of us, I think last month, had heard the request for the 55-plus apartment residential complex that we were working on. I think as trying to understand, these two projects seem to be separate projects, and so for the purpose of tonight, I wanted Mr. Vogler to be able to give some context and overview before we begin our public hearing. So, Mr. Vogler.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I was contacted by Parker Poe, Jeffrey Poley, with them back about 2 weeks ago. He indicated that they had a corporation that they represented that wanted to have a public hearing, that they were going to be issuing bonds through the Wisconsin County's Public Finance Authority, that the Public Finance Authority required the county or the locale and the governing board in which the project was actually located to conduct a public hearing as part of the Wisconsin statutes and as part of the Internal Revenue Code. I told him that we would be glad to put this on for the public hearing as long as they were here and they took care of everything with regards to this, including the notice of publication, and have someone present to actually do a presentation for the board. And he assured me that someone would be here tonight for that. So that's what we've got before us tonight. And at the public hearing, obviously we will hear from someone from Parker Poe and then anyone else who wishes to speak. At that point in time, after you close the public hearing, you can take no action or whatever action you deem appropriate at this point in time, or if you have questions about it, you can always defer it and come back at a later date to take any action.
All right, so this is a public hearing, so I will turn it over to Mr. Vogler.
The chair has announced this is the date and hour of a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 153A of North Carolina General Statutes, and also pursuant to Section 187 of the Internal Revenue Code, that this Board of Commissioners hereby is proposed to hold a public hearing with respect to a proposed issuance of Public Finance Authority of certain revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $45 million, which can be issued pursuant to Section 66.0304 of the Wisconsin statutes as amended. It's been due publication and notice of public hearing in the newspaper with general circulation in Davie County is required, and the clerk to the board has attached the affidavit showing publication of said date and at least 10 days prior to today's day, or at least 7 days prior to today's date. I would ask all who wish to comment at this public hearing come forward to the podium, state your full name for the board, and then comment on the proposal.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, county attorney and the clerk to the board for being so helpful in arranging this day. Again, my name is Jeff Poley. I'm a bond attorney with Parker Poe, Adams and Bernstein in Raleigh. Our client, Montage Living, is a senior living nonprofit to help low to moderate seniors, income seniors to housing. They have recently entered into a purchase agreement for part of the Bermuda Village project. And so over time, that project will become what we would call at least 50% of the, at least 20% of the residents will have no more than 50% of the income. It is part of the federal tax code that we could issue tax-exempt bonds for this purpose. And as stated in the resolution and by the county attorney, this is something that's required under Wisconsin law, the public hearing and the approval, Wisconsin law and the federal revenue, also the Internal Revenue Code. I am Montage Living's attorney. I'm happy to take questions or address any comments that might have. And so I am here at your disposal.
Okay, this is stated as low income to moderate
Yeah.
income. Okay, so could you recite those income levels again, please?
So over time, as new residents come in, 20% of the residents have to have a median income. Have to have an income less than 50% of the median income in the area. So that'd be a census tract view look at what the median income is in that particular area, and then 20% of the residents have to have less than 50% of that income. The bonds, there is no liability to the county for the bonds. This just helps the nonprofit get a lower interest rate for their borrowing, just as the Davie County gets lower interest rates on their borrowings, whether it's through GO bonds or what's called LOBs or COPS or installment financing agreements. And so.
The sole reason that we're hearing this is because it's required by Wisconsin law.
Pretty much. And we do, and the IRS, there's a federalism concern. The IRS put this in the code in 1986, that a local body look at this and do approvals. I think really in 1986 it was because people were doing landfills and nuclear power plants and so on. They no longer are doing those types of things. But since this is a private purpose, they want to give the localities a chance to weigh in, and the local residents a chance to weigh in.
And this complex will be located at 142 Bermuda Village Drive?
Yeah, that's
Inside Bermuda.
the main campus. They yes, they are. I'm not sure if they have bought all of the units or most of the units, but particularly the healthcare units.
So they purchased the existing units?
Yes, well, they haven't purchased it until the money changes hands, so they have an agreement, a purchase agreement signed, and then this is part of the financing to go ahead and close that finance.
To purchase the healthcare unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there are also some independent living units being purchased, but my client is usually does most of the healthcare units first, and then there's a eventual adding of independent living. But here we have an existing complex, so that's all set up.
But so you're planning to continue to purchase until you purchase all of the village?
I believe
apartments?
that's the plan. I am not on the acquisition side. I'm on the bond side, so I'm here for the financing. But I think you would say that the majority is being purchased, and if not all, are being purchased. Now, there's somewhat of a weird setup over there in terms of land ownership versus house ownership and so on. So there is somewhat of a, I don't know if it's weird, it's just not
It's
typical. It's unique, as you know. And so it's going to have to be over time that they develop that whole process into kind of one ownership, the way it is set up, as I understand.
So there's the, I'm sorry.
No.
So there's the purchase of the village complex.
Mhm.
And you indicated the term you used was main campus.
Mhm.
What does
Well,
that imply?
the maps that I see, it's basically everything inside the golf course. I mean, the senior living community that's there. So we didn't put an address for everybody, for every unit being purchased, but that's because we wanted to just basically describe the campus.
So then, in what we know as Bermuda Village, then 20% of those units are going to be below the median income.
That, yes, that is the requirement under the code in order to have tax exempt bonds.
So at that point, then your company, the entity, whoever owns that, would have tax exemptions.
I cannot speak to the actual tax, property tax exemptions. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm just asking
Okay.
across the board.
Yeah, no, we have looked at whether there'd be property tax exemptions. I don't know if your tax assessor's here, but what usually happens with nonprofit properties here, in the county. But that's regardless if you issue bonds or not. If the nonprofit takes over, there would be, it become a nonprofit, it owned.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
In conjunction with Commissioner Jones's question, in the memorandum that we received from Parker Poe, it does state that this is a 501c3
Yes.
purchase. So, Commissioner Jones, I would imagine that's something to be mindful of. And the other question I have, Mr. Chairman, is, and maybe you can expound upon this, sir. Do the citizens of Bermuda Village know the intent to acquire the property?
I do not know what has been publicly announced by the current owner. Well, yes, the current owner.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone is here on their behalf, but I do not know what has been announced and what has not been.
Okay. And because this falls within the municipality of Bermuda Run, are you aware that the town council or manager of Bermuda Run have been contacted?
I understand that the mayor and others have been contacted.
Okay.
I have been told that. I do not personally know that.
Okay. And do you know when they would have been contacted?
I think it was after the purchase agreement was signed, which I believe was last week.
Okay. So recently.
Recently, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, my question is this: in the prior discussions that we had, there was some indication that this was a new project that was going in behind the nursing home in that area there. So what I'm hearing is from you now that this is 2 separate projects.
Well, I might go back. I am a little bit confused myself because I do understand, and I think it was said by the county attorney or the county manager, that there were 2 separate projects. There is no intended new construction on this. So there's previously, it sounds like there's something else going on that I am not aware of.
What you voted on last month apparently is a separate project than what this is, completely separate.
I think the confusion
Found that out today.
The confusion rests with the fact that the introduction paragraph notes for the resolution that's before you tonight, is an acquisition of an affordable housing complex for seniors. I think Commissioner Finney pointed out that address, though, is different from the project that we had heard last month, which it's two different projects, which is why we wanted to state that. It sounds to me as if this is more of an acquisition.
This is an acquisition of the existing facilities.
Well, then my question is this, are we dealing with two different entities? This is completely, oh, okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did not know anything until I arrived at this meeting about a different project going on nearby. So.
And I've got a question under the federal tax laws as it deals with this resolution. Federal tax laws and apparently the laws that govern out in Wisconsin require that the elected legislative body or the highest elected legislation of the government unit that has jurisdiction over the area in which the project is located must approve this. Mm-hmm. And would that be the town of Bermuda Run, their town council?
Either under the tax law, either the county commissioners or the town council could.
And so why didn't this not go to the town council instead of to us, which it's not out in the county as it says, it's actually inside the city limits or corporate limits of town of Bermuda Run?
Because because I was somewhat instructed by the purchaser that we should come here.
Okay. I just was looking at that.
Yeah. This way, we had a choice between two. Looked at the meeting calendars and so on, and said what works best and what do the people on the ground here think.
So you said you have notified the town of Bermuda Run?
I understand they've been notified, yes.
This is technically in their jurisdiction.
Commissioner Blakely, I can comment as to that. Received a call from Lee Rollins with the town today, who was late this afternoon, was made aware. I'm aware that he has notified the town council of this request as well. So I think that is something, obviously, after tonight we'll be communicating with our partners with the town of Bermuda Run.
So they just learned of it this afternoon?
I just received the call this afternoon, and I believe, Commissioner Jones, that is the case.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Poley? Thank you, sir.
I'd ask anyone else who wishes to comment at this public hearing, come forward to the podium, state your full name to the board, then comment on the proposal. Mr. Chairman, seeing no one further come to comment, I would now turn the public hearing back over to you as board chair, so you may close the public comment section of this public hearing, provide the board the opportunity to discuss among yourself what, if any, action you wish to take with regards to this matter.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to questions, input from the board, concerns.
Well, I feel fairly strongly that the town of Bermuda Run and the board of Bermuda Run needs to make a decision on this project as well, not just us. And I don't feel comfortable without their consent first. So that's my input.
I concur, Mr. Chairman. I mean, this really, we're made aware of this, and it seems like proper protocol should be that the town of Bermuda Run should at least have input and address it before we, or even if we take this on.
Any other input, comments?
So do you need a motion of some sort to table, to take under advisement?
You do.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would just, I would make a motion that would it be proper, Mr. Vogler, to table or to just take this under advisement until the town of Bermuda Run deals with it, or just to table it?
You could do it either way.
Okay, well then, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table until the town of Bermuda Run addresses this and is fully informed of what's happening in their community.
I second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All in the motion on the table is, the motion on the floor is to table action on this request for the bond sale. All in favor, raise your hand. That passes 4-0. Mr. Eller, if you could please get with Mr. Rollins and get coordinated here and get back to us, that would be good.
Yes, sir. I'll do that, and also Mr. Vogler and I will consult back with Parker Poe as well after consulting with the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a zoning amendment. I'll call on Mr. Meadwell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight, you have zoning map amendment 02-19. This is a request to rezone 0.8 acres from residential 12 to highway business. The applicant is Gray Lehman. The subject property is located on the corner of US Highway 601 North and Main Church Road. Included in your agenda packages, you'll see an aerial photograph which indicates that the subject piece is currently vacant. Also, you'll notice that the current zoning map for the area, you see much of the area in and around is zoned R12. However, properties to the south and to the west do have the highway business zoning classification. Also, you'll see that the subject piece of property is located in an area that is classified on our land use plan as future land use as commercial, as well as identified as a primary growth area on the Davie County Growth Enhancement Plan. Issues to consider for the board tonight is that, this comes to the board as a general use rezoning. So all those uses that would be allowed in that highway business district should be considered when determining the proper zoning classification for this. But other things that the board should consider is the property's potential as a residential use, the property's potential as a commercial use, its location on a major highway through our town or through the county. The planning board did hear this at its last meeting and did vote unanimously, 6 in favor and none opposed. So, also included in your package are the motions, either motion to approve that statement, a statement to deny, or defer. So, this is a duly advertised meeting in which Mr. Vogler will tell you staff property has been posted, notices mailed out to those surrounding property owners, and notification or ran public notice into the Davie Enterprise. So, yes. You can let that. Yes, sir. So I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that the board may have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Meadwell? Thank you. All right. Again, this is a public hearing, so turn it over to Mr. Vogler.
Chairman has now, this day and the hour of a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 153A of the North Carolina General Statutes and also pursuant to Section 153-251 of the Davie County Code of Ordinance. This board is conducting a public hearing on Gray A. Lehman's request for a zoning map amendment to a .8 acre tract of land from residential 12 to highway business. The property is located corner of US 601 and Main Church Road and is described as tax map parcel G3050A00003. There has been due publication and notice of the public hearing in a newspaper with a general circulation in Davie County as required, and the clerk to the board has attached the affidavit showing publication in said paper on a date at least 10 days prior to today's date. I would ask that all who wish to comment at this public hearing come forward to the podium, state your full name for the board, and then comment on this proposal. Anyone wish to comment in favor or opposed to this proposal? Mr. Chairman, seeing no one come forward to comment, I would now turn the public hearing back over to you as board chair to close the public comment section of this public hearing. Provide the board the opportunity to discuss among yourself what, if any, action there is to be taken at this time.
Okay, thank you. It's time to declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the board for comment.
Mr. Chairman, I have no comments other than fond memories of the store when it was there. And it's not?
It's on the Canis.
Yeah.
Canis.
It's there at the corner of Cana Road. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Still have fond memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Still have fond memories of it. Well, now, what I see here, so it's 1582 over there where the mobile home used to be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve. Yeah.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of voting to support the zoning map amendment, raise your hand. That passes 4-0. Thank you. All right. Next, we move to the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions or concerns about the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as presented, raise your hand. That passes 4-0. All right, next we move to the county manager's report. Mr. Eller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be quick because I know we're having a longer meeting due to the annual cooperative extension dinner we came from. I want to thank them for all their hard work. I know all of you appreciate all they do for our county as well. I also know that all of you know we're continuing to prepare for our upcoming special call meeting with our chiefs and continue to solicit their input. So appreciate some of them being here tonight. We're also in the midst of preparing with staff our annual budget process and the preparation that goes into that, as well as our capital improvement plan. We're still on target for a June conversation for budget, and then hopefully in May at your next meeting we'll talk about capital improvements and preparing for that as we go into our budget season. And then a glimpse also into July, as hopefully Mr. Lambert will give us an update on some utility projects happening throughout the county. We've got the Northeast Davie Sewer Project and some other extensions occurring, and it's probably due time to come back to the board then. So we appreciate the work that he and his staff do for us, and also preparing for that. Last thing I want to point out, I know Ms. Shusky's here, but we got the senior games kickoff coming up on the 4th at 4:30, I believe. Is that correct? At Farmington Community Center. So our seniors and our senior center, I just love the fact that they're so active. Love seeing our active seniors out participating in those team sports and individual sports, and they really give me a run for my money, that's for sure. So with the way they compete and the way they really remain active and just congregate and love being around each other. So thank Ms. Shusky for the work that she and her staff do to make that all it needs to be. So and then all of our department heads, I brag about them all the time, and you know that. We have a great staff in Davie County. So thank you, commissioners, for your support of them. That's all.
Do we have any old business to come before us this evening? Any new business? All right. Seeing none, I'll move to commissioner comments. Start with Ms. Finney.
I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I know we're all looking forward to our special call meeting in April to get our ordinance and fire contracts together, and just want to congratulate Bill Butler on his retirement from the fire marshal's office, and hope that he and his family enjoy their extra time together, and that everybody will keep in mind that Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Month is in April, and also Autism Awareness is in April. And it's time for fundraisers in Davie County. We have lots of fundraisers occurring, so keep an eye on your paper and your Facebook so you can attend and support all of our great organizations. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have commented enough. I thank everyone for being here, and appreciate all our staff does, our fire folks, law enforcement. It's just an honor to serve with you, and I would invite you all out to come see James's son play baseball this weekend out at Davie Little League opening day. There'll be 400 approximately kids with wide open eyes and big smiles on their face thinking they're playing in the Little League World Series, and it's always a lot of fun. So come on down and all day Saturday. Thank you.
Blakely.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Amen to spring. Everyone's happy to see the flowers come back out. Thank you, county staff, for all you do. Can't appreciate it as much. Everyone, every day, you give all your efforts, and we appreciate that very much. And I, too, am also looking forward to the meeting coming up so we can get all this taken care of and get everybody back to what they do best. You guys protect everybody and appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out, as always. I want to thank Agricultural Extension for the dinner and the report to the people. That's always look forward to that. Some good food, and a lot of work goes into that. And today it was farm to table, so it was all Davie County. I think it's normally always Davie County, but today it was all grown here, so it was very good. Actually, we did have a couple things from Yadkin County, but that's close enough. So anyway, with that, appreciate you being here, and look forward to seeing you either at the call meeting on April 15th or at the regular meeting in May. With that, we entertain a motion to be adjourned.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.